Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I'm going to introduce you guys to the new work truck, Ford F450. So I had I had a lot of work trucks. The one I liked the most was the 2010 f450. Got a video of that. I've had a Freightliner for a work truck. This is specifically for the dumpster rental business. And I've used a 2016 Chevy Silverado 2500 diesel. It wasn't near heavy enough. So I've got videos on some of those trucks. We're swapping around a little bit, but I had to sell my F550 and a few other of my trucks to kind of keep up on finances a little bit around here. But we ended up buying this thing for $1,000. It was all put together, so it had headlight bezels and a bumper and everything. The bumper was completely rusty and dented in. The rims were completely rusty, and it had a welding bed, which I still have on it, or I still have on it. I have a welding bed I took off of it. We still have, but it's probably not going on it. So this is the welding bed that came off of it. I sent it off to sandblast, and then we parked it under here. It rained a little bit, and we decided that, yeah, we probably don't want to use this for the dumpster rental business, even though it's not terrible. Had some rust issues, but it's just not super convenient to use for what we need it for. So yeah, here it sits. I'm just gonna try to maybe refurbish a little bit and sell it, or sell it to somebody who wants to refurbish it themselves. Unfortunately, sandblast is pretty expensive. We got like $1,200 just in sandblasting. So kind of a waste of money, but hopefully regain a little bit and I can sell the bed for maybe $1,200 to break even. So this truck had a lot more issues than we had expected. But what can you really expect for $1,000? So, from where we come from, this frame is really rusty, but no damage or anything, nothing that's gonna hurt it. This truck did not have an exhaust on it. The tires were completely destroyed. The rims were rusty. We sandblasted the rims. Put the tires off my other 550 that I still have that's broke down. It needs a lot of work, so we can't get to it. So we put the used tires off of it. Ended up having to put new shocks. 4 new shocks. We did rotors, pads, calipers, brand new calipers all the way around. I went and bought a rail system because my other truck had the same rail system. And we can swap around fifth wheels and goosenecks from truck to truck. That way we can use basically these 2 items for multiple trucks if we need to. Ended up building a whole new exhaust system for it. Haven't went out the back yet because we don't know what we're doing for a bed. Stripped off all the signs. Paint's pretty rough shape. Don't really care for dumpster business. I got the seat reupholstered. It was that old leather. Oh, that's not gonna shut up. It was the old leather seat, completely worn out. We went through, detailed the interior. It was super filthy. It had brand new windshield and everything. When it got, when we bought it, all the glass was good. While we had it apart, I coated the frame a little bit up front. So it had a really bad transmission leak. We were able to drive it onto the trailer. We had to put like a gallon of transmission fluid in, and then we drove it on the trailer. Brought it home. It was leaking coolant out of the radiator like crazy. It had a crack in the radiator. So we replaced that. And then while we were in there, I bought a new battery for it. It had a pulley that was out, an idler pulley. We put a new serpentine belt. We put a new water pump, fan clutch, and resealed the transmission. And started it back up, and then it was leaking like crazy again. So it has a pipe underneath the intake, a steel pipe that goes back to the heater core, little piece of rubber here, and that pipe is O-ring sealed into there. Funny enough, we put new O-rings on it, put the water pump, everything, we resealed the intake, all that, started leaking again. That pipe had a pinhole leak. We replaced the pipe. Believe it or not, dealer still offers those. Now we don't have any leaks. So, started it up and it drove about 20 miles before it started running terrible. So we've got it up and running. Still have a transmission leak and another seal. Luckily I own a mechanic shop. Other than that, this would all be a nightmare. So, had to replace the steering column. We had a van that we bought. Let me see if I can find the key. What the hell did I do? We had a 2004 van. And so we swapped the steering column out with it. So, I've got a fuel pressure gauge on it. See, it's still has some other issues. Runs a little rough. Let me see if we can see this fuel pressure gauge. Man, they're hard to see. I don't know if I can video this thing or not. Window's really dirty. So, right now we are at 40 pounds of fuel pressure. So where it's supposed to be, I rev it up. And it will not maintain fuel pressure. So you press on the gas and it just dies out. That's gas. As soon as the fuel pressure recovers, starts idling smooth, but it doesn't have any power, runs terrible going down the road. That is with the fuel pressure regulator unplugged. So, that's either going to be fuel pump, a clog in the line, something like that. So since we have the bed off real easy, I'm going to put a fuel pressure gauge at the fuel pump. If it maintains fuel pressure at the fuel pump, then it's not the fuel pump, it's a clog in the system. If it drops off at the fuel pump, most likely it's fuel pump. The thing holds fuel pressure. You shut it off, it'll hold 40 psi for hours. So that means it's not the fuel pressure regulator that's leaking off or having some type of issue. So it's either going to be fuel filter, which I'm pretty sure we changed already when we got the truck, but it could have clogged up right away. Or it's going to be fuel pump, 90-something% chance it's fuel pump. But I'm going to test it just so we don't throw an expensive fuel pump at it. And let's see how that test turns out. All right, here's what we got. So I added in a line to the pressure side with a quick connect fitting for my fuel gauge. Oh, so I can leak fuel everywhere. And then I got my fuel gauge over here on the tire where I can see it. But something weird happened. Let me reconnect this thing real quick. Okay. So I did disconnect the return. So turn it on. We've got same fuel pressure over here. And I got it to where I can see it. Not bleeding off. Start it up. Runs good. See if I can get you closer to the fuel thing. Where are we at? Where are we at? Okay, so now we're not losing our throttle. So whatever I did by disconnecting that stuff, oh, now we're losing it. So it worked for a minute. Now we're losing fuel pressure again. So whatever I did, whatever I changed, it was running better, it gained its throttle back, and now it's starting to lose it again. So it wasn't dipping down before. Let's see, where are we at? Sorry, and it's so hard to hold that from that far away. So, okay, so it worked for a minute. I don't know why, but it came back and it started working, and then it started falling off after a couple seconds of running. But I've never had it been able to run good before. So, falling off at the fuel pump means that it's the fuel pump, or it could be a regulator. But I've kind of took the regulator out of, so it's not leaking while it's sitting still, and the vacuum is not hooked up to the regulator. Still could be regulator issues, but I don't think that badly. I mean, it's dropping 20 to 30 psi. So I'm going to diagnose that as a fuel pump. But it is odd that it worked for a minute. I'm not sure why, but if you have a clogged fuel line or a fuel filter, so fuel lines can get clogged too, and people will keep changing fuel filters, and it doesn't help. They'll change a fuel pump, and it doesn't help. And they've got a clogged, corroded, something bad line, crimped line, collapsed rubber line on the inside. Yeah, all kinds of things can go wrong, but the fact that, so that's why you test at the fuel pump, is that'll rule out the rest of the fuel system. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the fuel pump on it and inspect it and see if the screen is clogged or anything like that. If it looks pretty good, if the tank's fairly clean and everything, I'm going to go ahead and replace the fuel pump and redo these tests. The gauge. So it's the next day. Fuel screen was clogged inside the fuel pump. There was a lot of silt, a lot of rust and everything in here. So we vacuumed everything out, wiped everything down. They did not sell a fuel pump with the proper, we went through like several fuel pumps. They didn't sell one with the proper bolt pattern. So we just ended up cutting new holes. Screwing it down, sealing it in. Got a brand new fuel pump, fuel tank cleaned out, 10 gallons of fresh fuel. Truck runs perfect. Tested fuel pressure, we were at 55 psi here. I didn't retest up front. So, for the first time, she starts right up. Still cold. Runs good and revs good. So, I just got to get pins for the fifth wheel and gooseneck. We cut down the fuel filler, and yeah, trial by fire. I've got one dumpster to deliver today, and then I've got a job that is 250,000 pounds of dirt we need to move. So honestly, that one job will pay for everything we did on this truck. So I need to go start it, and then yeah, we'll see how this truck does for me. This will be my first gas engine in the dumpster business. I've never had a gas engine before doing that job. So I already like it. I like these single cabs. I like f450s, f550s, dualies. That's kind of what I lean towards. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps somebody on the fuel pressure issues or stumbling issues if you have those on your 450. So let's go see how this thing does for work. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.